dignitaries to our second session for the day. I would again like to remind all of you that your attendance link would be active right from 4:15 onwards until 5 o'clock today. So yeah, with this we can start our second session. I once again wholeheartedly welcome all to the second session of the day. We are privileged to have with us today our guest for the occasion, Dr. Uma Padopal. Dr. Pal received his PhD from Indian Statistical Institute. He did his postdoctoral research at INRIA, France, and he is the faculty member of Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition Unit of Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, and at present he is a professor of CVPRU. His field of research interest is different pattern recognition problems like digital document processing, optical research recognition, camera, video, text processing, biometrics, document retrieval, to name a few. He has published 143 research papers in various international journal conferences. And in 2005-6, Dr. Pal received, uh, give me a minute, please. Yeah. So in 2005 and 6, Dr. Pal have received JSPS fellowship from Japan government, International Association for Pattern Recognition. Okay. Dr. Pal has been serving as a general organizing chair of many conferences, including International Conference on Document Analysis and Recognition, International Conference on Frontier of Handwriting Recognition, International Workshop on Document Analysis and Systems, to name a few. International Conference on Pattern Recognition will be the first time in India in 2024 under his leadership. He is the founding co-editor-in-chief of Springer Nature Computer Science Journal. He is serving as associate editor in many journals like Pattern Recognition Journal, ACM Transaction of Asian Language Transformation Process, to name a few. Also, he is among the top 2% scientists in the world listed by the Stanford University in 2020. Sir is going to speak today on document image processing and its recent trend. I once again wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay,
So,
so good morning and thank you, Dr. Rai, for a brief introduction regarding my work. I think all the participants already attended my first talk, right?
Yes, sir. They are the same participants.
Okay, okay, very good. So in that case, today, as I mentioned you, I will give you some more technical details in some of the subjects. And before that, I'll just quickly tell you once more about the application of the subjects. Right? Okay, so let's go for the slides. Just a moment. Okay. So are you getting my slide?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We can see.
I don't know why it is the first. Okay. Yes. Okay. So today I am planning to give you some specific areas like document image processing and its recent trends. Okay. So you know what is document image processing? For example, when you have a document, like in the day before yesterday, I gave one talk or gave one application that is reading aid for the blind. That means how blind people can read newspaper, magazine, books, etc. So that is the technique they use, and we use document image processing, DIP, and also use the document image analysis DIA for that purpose. Okay. So what is document image? So when you scan a book or some papers or anything, and when you get the image, that image contains some text. Let's say that is our document image. So you are getting the image from the document. So as soon as you will have the document, then you have to use different processing to read the content of that image. Right? So today we will give you some idea about this document image processing technique and also some of its recent trends. That means the researcher what they are using nowadays. Okay. Yeah. So as you know, we have given many applications in my last talk, and we have also shown some of the demonstration to you. Today also I will try to give some demonstration, not many, because I will give more technical to you, technical things to you, so that you can get the idea. Okay, so there are many applications we didn't discuss, like biometric, signature, fraud detection, photographer identification, medical image analysis. Okay, so if time permits, I will give you brief on that. Otherwise, maybe you can just have research papers on these areas, and you can get the research page on that. So let's see if I can cover. It will be good for you. Let me try. Okay. So at first, I will give you the block diagram of DIA, document image analysis. So what do you mean by block diagram? That means what are the steps you have to follow for the document image analysis or DIA? So as I mentioned you, first you have to take the document like this, then you have a scanner or your mobile, you just take the image, then you will have the document image, then you have to do some sort of pre-processing. So what do you mean by pre-processing? So you know pre-processing and post-processing. So the task before the main task is the pre-processing, and task after the main task is the generally post-processing. So in pre-processing, we use a binarization. So you know how to convert the grayscale image into a binary image, or maybe color image to gray, or anyone. Text graphics separation. So maybe when you have a book or maybe newspaper, maybe you can have different images. So how machine can understand which part is image, which part is text. So how machine can automatically identify or separate text part from the non-text part, or maybe graphics part or image part. Okay? Skew correction. That means when you put your document on the scanner, so the text line may not be horizontal. Sometimes it may be like this. So there will be some sort of a skewness in the document. So that means when the lines are not horizontal, then we can say that there is a skew and we need to correct the skew, right? Because you know, when we read the document, our page should be horizontal, right? If it is not horizontal, we will face some problem for reading. Maybe we will have some errors. Or maybe let's say if the page is upside down, something like this, so let's say like this, even we cannot read anything from there, right? So that's why we need the proper skew correction to read the image easily and correctly. And of course, any image contains some images, so you know we have to do some sort of noise cleaning. And then what we have to do, as you know, when we read a page or a book, how we will read? We will read line by line. Then from the first line, we just go to the first word, then second word, third word, something like that. So line by line and word by word, starting from the left of the first line. It depends whether it is left or right, depend on the language. For example, if it is Bangla or Hindi or English, we generally follow from left to right. But if it is Arabic or maybe let's say Persian, generally the right reading mode is from right to left. They start from the right and go from left. But for Bangla, Hindi, we start from left, go right. So that's why we have to segment the line, word, and the characters. Then we read character by character. Okay. That means we recognize character by character. But how will we recognize actually? So let's say instead of deep learning, if we use some feature extraction or feature-based approach, so then we have to find some features. So what is feature actually? So feature is the properties of that particular object based on which we can identify that object. So similarly, for character recognition, we need to have some properties of the character based on that, based on those properties, we can identify or classify the character. A, B, C, something like that. Okay. So what do you mean by features? So let's say if I ask you what is this, you will say this is a mouse for you, right? What is this? Maybe you will say it is a wire, and this is mobile, something like that. So how you can say that? Because you have some characteristics or properties in your mind, and when you see an object, you just compare those properties with those objects, and then you decide, okay, this is mouse, this is watch, this is mobile, and this is something like this. Okay. So similarly, in document processing also, if you just just compare with the similar two objects. So document processing, we have the object means we have the characters. How many characters? We have 26 uppercase, 26 lowercase, and 10 numeral for English. For Bangla, Hindi, we have many characters, right? Anyway, so let us consider for English here so that you can understand the things easily. So if we consider the English, let's say if I ask you what is the difference between B, capital B, and capital D. So capital B, let's say we have a vertical line. Capital D, we have also a vertical line at the leftmost part of the character. But in capital B and capital T, D, so capital B, capital D, the main difference is B has two loops, right? So now you can see here in the first character B, so B has two loops, this one and that one. And the D, this is one, we have only one big loop. So if I just consider how many loops are there, then you can easily identify that B has two loops and D has one loop. So you can see the block diagram B, capital B, and diagram D is capital D. So you can easily identify B and B, right? So just a loop is the feature for us. So similarly, let's say if I ask you how you can identify 6 and 9. So 6 we have also one loop, and 9 is also we have one loop. But the difference is the position of the loop is different. In 9, loop position is the upper part. In 6, the loop position is the lower part. So you see the loop itself can give you different features, position, number, size, because you can see in B and D, the loop of the D is bigger than loops of B. And the bigger means what is? The loop of D is size or height of the loop for character D is similar to the height of the character D. But in B, height of the loop is about 50% of the height of the character. So we can use different properties to identify one character from the other. Right? So this is actually features. So feature means the characteristics. So those characteristics we have to find for each of these objects, but here object means it is character. So each of these character, and based on the features, we have to classify, right? So what we have to do? So we use these features of the object to the system through AI, artificial intelligence. So artificially, we are feeding these features into the system or machine so that machine can also do the same thing how we are thinking like the loop feature. So how we'll do that? So what we can do, we can write the program for this. So we write different computer program in C, Java, Python, many languages. So if I can write a small module to detect the loop, so we just write a program so that machine can understand that program and machine can detect the loop. So for example, if you want to detect a very simple feature, let's say the vertical line for B and D, there is a vertical line. But let's say if it is C, there is no vertical line. So how to detect vertical lines from the character? So let's say, what is the vertical line? So if you consider or convert your image into two-tone, that means binary image, where we have two pixels, two different pixels. One is for object, that means the part of the character, and one is for the background, that means the that complement of the character part. Okay, so background and foreground generally we say. Foreground means the object part, background means it is the rest of the part. So if we see that if the object point is marked by 1 and the background is marked by 0, then if I see continuous 1 pixel, so as you know, image is nothing but a two-dimensional matrix. So for B, we have a two-dimensional matrix, and for each of these columns, we will check whether there is a continuous 1 or not. If there is continuous 1, then we can say there is a vertical line. So just a simple programming concept, how we can develop these features in your program. So it's very easy how to detect the vertical line, how to detect the loop, and so many. So you can just easily write the program. So through this program, you can get the features. That means machine can also know which are the features are there. Then we have to classify. So classification means we have to say that okay, this character is A, this character is B, this character is C. Earlier that B and D, we have two loops. So if we have a simple, let's say this and B. So first we'll, if I ask you, can you just write a small program to identify or classify just two characters, B and D? Then what you will do? You'll just find the number of loops. If the number of loops is greater than equal to 1, then greater than 1, that means greater than equal to 2, let's say, then it is B, else it is D. Just simple one step decision tree. But when you have many characters, so your decision tree length will be high, right? But we can just use the particular feature to make the decision tree normal, so that we can easily and faster way, in a faster way, we can recognize the characters. And then next one is post-processing. That means when you recognize the text, maybe a page or maybe a book, in some of the words, there will be some errors. So as you know, when you type in Microsoft Word, if you type a more some characters or maybe some words, you will see there are some red marks. That means that word is the erroneous word. So similarly here also, we can detect whether there are some errors or not. If there are some error, we have to correct the error, that is the post-processing. So in Microsoft Word, perhaps you know the red, how it marks red, because in the word there is a dictionary, that means it is a list of valid words. So if your typed word is in one of these valid words, then the Microsoft Word will not say anything. Even if it is a wrong word, if you type wrong word and that wrong word is in your dictionary, then system cannot identify that one. That this is the erroneous word. Okay. So similar to that, we can also identify or correct some of the errors. So you know, typing errors and OCR errors are different. Why? Because when we type, generally the errors coming from the nearest character. So for example, if you see your keyboard, if you just type G, maybe G will be replaced by H or F or I or V, because 4 never in character, because your hand may be a little bit moves from left, right, top, bottom. That means the in typing errors and OCR error is different. So typing error, mostly the neighborhood character will be replaced by the actual character. But in OCR, the error, because we are using the features. So similar shape character have the similar features. So OCR error mostly occurs for similar shape character. So for example, what is similar shape character? Let's say capital I and L, small l. So I and L is more or less similar shape character, right? So 0 and O. So that is also another error you may have. C and E, because mostly it is similar. So these sort of things or these sort of errors mostly occurs in OCR because they are similar in shape. So in OCR, the errors is due to similar shape characters, but for typing, it's not that may not like okay. Anyway, so I think you got the idea about the block diagram of TIA. Okay. So if I tell you something about the text graphic separation, so there are many techniques on that to identify the text, graphics, or maybe let's say there may be some logo, how to detect the logo, or maybe let's say in the postal document there will be postal seal, so how to detect the seal. So there are lots of work on that, and it can be easily detected that one. So there are many deep learning techniques. So so maybe you know that YOLO technique, YOLO. There are many versions, so people use the YOLO technique for this one. But to get some sort of feature-based technique, to have some idea, basic idea. So maybe I'll just give you a very simple technique for you. That is how we can separate the text and graphics. So we use a run length smoothing algorithm. So run length means, so run means consecutive occurrence of same character. So let's say if there is a 0 and 1, so you can see here the original 0, 0, 0, 0, then 1, 1, 1. So this is the run of 0, this 5, 1. This 5, 1 is the run of 1. This 2, 0 is the run of 0. So this is the run, consecutive occurrence of similar pixel. And the length of this consecutive pixel is the length of the run length. So run length smoothing. So we smooth the run length, and based on that run length smoothing algorithm, we can separate text and graphics. So how we will do that? So a simple technique is like this. So we smooth the image horizontally. Horizontal smoothing operation is performed. Vertical smoothing operation is performed. Logical AND operation is performed. That means you are getting the results of the horizontal smoothing and vertical smoothing. Then you just take the AND of the results of the horizontal smoothing and vertical smoothing. Then that results will give you the idea about the texture. So let's see how it will show you. So here is the idea that the run length smoothing algorithm RLSA. So conversion of the black pixel runs into white pixel if the length of the black run is less than a threshold. Let's say t equal to, that is the threshold equal to 4. So this is your original run. So 0, 0, 0, 0 is like this. And now after conversion, so we will see if a run length of a run is less than 4, we will convert into complement. So you can see first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is more than 4, we will not convert. Second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So more than 4, we will not convert. But here it is 2, 0. The number of 0 is 2, less than 4, we will convert into 1. So that's why you can see this part will give you a big run length of 1. It will like this. Similarly, this is bigger than 4, it will keep like this. And in fact, so it is black to white. That means we are converting 1 to 0, just 1 to 0, not 0 to 1. Okay. That is black to white means 0 to 1. I'm sorry, 0 to 1. That means if the length of the run of 0 pixel is less than 4, we will convert into 1. That's why this 2 0 will be 1 and this 2 0 will be 1 here. And now we do the same thing from white to black. That means if the number of 1 is less than 4, we will convert to 0. So you can see this is greater than 4, greater than 4, this is greater than 4, this is less than 4. So this will be converted into 0. So that's why you will see from this to this, all will be 0. Similarly, this is the one. So you can do the same thing. This is done horizontally. We'll do the same thing vertically. Then you can see this is your original image. And if we do horizontal smoothing, this image looks like this. If you do the vertical smoothing, this image looks like this. And now if you take the intersection of B and C, that means horizontal smoothing and vertical smoothing, then you will get like this. And now you can see in D and A is the original image, and D gives some sort of correspondence between A and D, because when there is a graphics, you will have the big block, black block. So these big black blocks can easily be identified and removed. Then you will get only the text part. So you can see here how this RLSA can help us. Is a simple technique can help us to remove some of the images from the document. Right? You can see here, this is the input and this is the output that containing only text. So this is the separation of the graphics from the images based on RLSA, run length smoothing algorithm. It's a simple technique here we use. Okay. Yeah. And now next thing is, so a single document, as I told you, when a foreigner is visiting India or an Indian people is visiting Japan or China, they cannot read that the language, local language. For example, if we are in China, we cannot read the Chinese text. So how the machine can read all the languages? That is whether it is Bangla, Hindi, English, Chinese, Japanese. So what we have to do? So when a document contains many languages, then we have to develop some multilingual document image recognition technique so that that system can read all the languages in the world. Okay. But generally, a single document may not contain all the languages. So, for example, in India, as I mentioned you, in West Bengal, the document contains generally Hindi, English. This is common in every state. And in addition to that, we use Bangla. So that means a document may contain three languages, Hindi, English, and Bangla, right? So what we have to do actually for this sort of multi-script language, so give you some idea like this. So there are two approaches, approach one and approach two. Approach one, what is that? Now develop a generalized OCR, that means generalized system, which can recognize characters of all the scripts. But this is a very difficult system because if you ask me to recognize any script in the world, it is very difficult for me. That's why that to develop a generalized OCR is not a good idea. Better we just write a system or maybe a pre-processing system where that document will be identified first that okay, this part is Bangla, this part is Hindi, this part is English. Then we'll use the individual OCR instead of a general big OCR. Okay. So for example, if we write only one OCR for all Indian languages, it will be very time consuming, and also that system will not be robust enough to read all the language. Instead, if we develop this OCR system for each of these languages, let's say this is OCR Bangla, OCR Hindi, OCR English, something like that. Then what we can do? First we identify which part is Bangla, and then we'll just use the Bangla OCR in that part. So that is the second approach. First identify the different scripts from a document page, and then use individual OCR of the identified. So that means you have the first a document containing many scripts, that is multi-script document. Then we just write a pre-processing step called script identification. That means the system will identify all the scripts. And after the identification, it can detect, okay, this part is English, this part is Devanagari, this part is Bangla. Then we just call the Bangla OCR, Hindi OCR, Devanagari OCR. So what is the advantage? OCR will be fast, OCR will be more accurate than general system for all the languages. Okay. So how this system actually works? So for example, if you have a document like this, so you can see this document contains Hindi, Bangla, and English. Then after the script identification, the system will automatically mark which part is Hindi, which part is Bangla, and which part is English. So like this, you can see our system can easily detect which part is English. That means the red part is English, Hindi, blue part is Bangla, and this green part is English. Okay. So to get the idea, we have developed a system in ISI. I can give you that. I can show you the system, and so that you can get the idea. So how machine can identify different scripts. Okay. And let me go back to the demonstration. Okay. Just a moment. So this is the system we have developed for different languages, only three languages, because as we know, in India, every state has three languages. So Bangla, Hindi, English, or Malayalam, Hindi, English, Tamil, Hindi, English. So let's say, just take an image with Tamil, Hindi, English. So I'm just taking an image. Let's say this is Tamil, and now you just run it. Okay, and then what the system will do? System will first segment the lines of the document, lines into words. Then each individual words will be identified by the system. And now you can see this is the output for this. Can you see that? You see, this is the output. And since there is no Hindi, there is no red mark. So this is English, and this is the local language like Bangla, and that is Tamil. So you can see this is the output for that. So that means machine can, or maybe system, or that identification system can easily identify which part is English, which part is Bangla. You can see there are some mistakes. Here A here should be English, right? So it should be green. Part should be green. This part should be green. I don't know the BP. Oh, there's some mistakes here. Anyway, so we can run one more if you want. Let's say I'm just running with Malayalam, Hindi, English. So just take image of Malayalam. Yeah. So let's say this one, and if we okay, maybe it's running. So in Malayalam, Hindi, English, we will see the documents. So if it's bilingual, it will mark in two colors. Okay, so you'll see up here. This is the Malayalam, and now you can see. Yeah. So the Malayalam part is marked in blue, and as usual, the green is the English part. You can see the result. So you got the idea. Maybe I'll just show you one local document like in Bangla. So maybe I'll just select this one. That is for Bangla, Hindi, English. And we have to take that corresponding Bangla document. Maybe this one or this one. Let's say this one. So as usual, it will be segmented into lines into words, and words into words will be identified. Now you can see this is Bangla, Hindi, English. Okay, so you can see here. So all the Bangla parts are marked in blue. The green is English, and the red is Hindi. Maybe there are some mistakes I can see here. This should be green because it is English. Here it should be red. But anyway, this system is very high accuracy, is more than 98%. And you can see most of the words are identified correctly. So as soon as the words are identified Hindi, so you just run Hindi OCR in this part, Bangla OCR this part, English OCR this part, again English OCR this part, Bangla OCR, then the OCR is smaller and more accurate than the generalized OCR. So this is the idea for the multi-step document identification. Okay, so this can be done also in deep learning. So when you have lots of data, you can train with a different deep learning model, and you can easily identify each of the words. But before that, you have to segment the lines and words. But how to segment the lines, right? So that is one important aspect. So how will get, what are the lines? How many lines are there, right? So let's give a small idea about this. Okay. Anyway, so what I'm, let's see, maybe I'll just show you from another. Let me check. I'll just take some class notes. Maybe there should be something. Let me here. Okay, so let me check if it's there. Yeah. So let's say, are you getting this slide? I hope you are getting. So you can see.
Yes, sir. We can.
This is the image. So right part is the corresponding histogram. So what you can do, so this image is 0 and 1, right? So now every rows, I just count how many ones are there, and just I plot how many ones. If it is, let's say, 101, you just make consecutive 100 as one. here there is no one, so that's why it is white. Here only few part or few one, it is like this. So you can see, if you take the horizontal histogram, then you can see the histogram looks like this. So as soon as you have this histogram, and from this histogram, you see there is a black, and then there is a white, nothing is there, again black, and there is white, again black. So you can see the transition of these two black, that means this part, that means marked by this dotted line, and that can be easily identified from this histogram, and we can segment the line. Similarly, we can do from each of these lines the same histogram, the vertical histogram, and then we can separate the words. Maybe, oh, it's not here, but anyway, so we can do the same thing for the word segmentation also. So how we can segment the line? We can just use the histogram, and that horizontal histogram can segment the line. Vertical histogram can segment the words. Okay. Anyway, so maybe I'll just try to go to your slides like this. Okay. So you got the idea how the multi-script here works. So we can different features. Okay. So I'll just give you some sort of simple features today to understand how we can separate some of the script easily. Okay. One simple technique. So perhaps you know convex hull, right? So you know convex set, you know convex hull. So if you find the convex hull, then, or if you have the idea about the convex hull, this is a simpler approach than convex hull, and that is based on water reservoir technique. So that is one of the techniques we published a few years ago, maybe 2003 or 4, something like that. The concept is, so for example, if you have the characters and if you have some cavity, then that cavity part, this part, can be filled up by water. So if you pour water from the top, then the region where water will be stored will be the cavity region, right? But if you use that convex hull from this, maybe you will have this part, this part, this part, and this part, right? So we don't use the convex hull, we use water reservoir technique to have the cavity in different direction, top, bottom, left, right. So what is water reservoir? A reservoir is a metaphor, or a water reservoir is a metaphor to illustrate the cavity region of a component where water can be stored if water is poured from a particular side of a component. So for this case, if the water is poured from the top, water will be stored here, right? To have more idea, let's say the character K. So you can see that by top, we can have the reservoir from top, bottom, left, right. So what do you mean by top reservoir? By top reservoir of a component, we mean the reservoir obtained when the water is poured from top of the component. So for example, this is the component. If you pour water from top, only this red part, the water will be stored. So this is called top reservoir. What is bottom reservoir? So a bottom reservoir of a component is visualized as a top reservoir when water will be poured from top after rotating the component by 180 degrees. So you see, K is rotated 180 degrees. And now if you pour water from top, then water will be stored here. That means this part is nothing but this. So this is bottom reservoir, but we are using the top reservoir technique to get the bottom reservoir. So in this case, we can have the bottom top reservoir, the red one, the blue part is the bottom reservoir. Similarly, we can have top, bottom, left, right. So this is the top reservoir, bottom reservoir, like K. We have the top and bottom. Similarly, if the character X, then top will be like this, bottom will be like this. And left, what do you mean by left? If you rotate this character, original character 90 degree clockwise, and then you consider the top reservoir, then that will be the left reservoir. Similarly, if you rotate this character 90 degrees anti-clockwise and consider the top reservoir, then you will get this right reservoir. So for each component, we can have separate reservoir like top, bottom, left, and right. Only these four. So this water reservoir is different from convex hull and also complexity is low. And actually, if you think the difference between water reservoir and convex hull, you can see water reservoir will be a subset of convex hull. Okay. Anyway, so you can see, for example, how we can use this water reservoir for different purpose. So let's say we want to use this water reservoir for script identification. We have given two scripts here. One is one is Telugu and this is English, right? So in Telugu, you can see if we consider the left reservoir, so many of the Telugu character will have the left reservoir that is marked by these dots. So this is left reservoir, this is left, this is left. So many left reservoir components can be obtained in Telugu. But in English, only this part of A and Z, A and A, something like that. Only few you can see here. So if you consider in a particular word, what is the amount of left reservoir when you are computing the reservoir from left, then that area, depending on that area, we can easily identify which part is, which word is Telugu and which part is English. Similarly, for example, if you consider the Odia and English, so second line is the Odia, first line is the English, and if we consider the Odia and English, and if we consider the reservoir from the bottom, you can see many bottom reservoir in Urea because the bottom sides are open in Urea script, but in English, bottom sides are not open. And you can see only this part, the bottom reservoir, this is the bottom reservoir, this is this. So here also, if you use the area of a word, that means the area of the bottom reservoir in a word, then you can easily identify these two different states. Okay. For example, if you want this identification of the Chinese and English, what we can do? We use that RLSA technique. RLSA, you know, run length smoothing algorithm. So we smooth the image horizontally, we smooth the image vertically, and we take the intersection. So after RLSA, if we use RLSA on Chinese text, on this line will be converted, it will be like this. So that means the RLSA output of Chinese line, this line will be this. Similarly for English, for example, this is the input, and after RLSA, it will be like this. So you can see most of the part of the Chinese character will be black after RLSA, whereas in English, only some part of the character will be converted into black like this, and some part of the U or something like this. But here, most of the character inner part will be black. So you can see from this blackness, that means how many pixels are converted into black by RLSA, we can easily identify that whether it is Chinese or English. But you can see here Arabic, there is no change even after RLSA. So we can use different techniques. The feature-based technique, we can use, as I mentioned you, that deep learning technique. So if you have lots of data, you just take a module or deep learning module and you just train, and then you will get which script is, which part is which script, right? But this is a feature-based approach, just to give some sort of idea about this, okay? So you now know how to identify the different script if a single document contains many scripts, right? So after script identification, as I told you, we have to segment the lines into words and words into characters. So line segmentation, we can use easily that horizontal profile. For word segmentation, we can use the vertical profile. And now we have to know how to segment the words from the character, right? So now you can see, sorry, the characters from the word. Okay. So we have line, we have words, and then we have to segment the characters from the word. So for example, you see, in English or Chinese, there is a white space between each character, between two characters, right? So white space here, here. So we can use this white space. Most of the cases we can separate the character. But when these characters are touching, then you will not get the white space. So that is the problem. So for example, here we have the problem how to segment. So character segmentation from the word is really a challenging task. Okay. So that's why uh, since the segmentation is a real difficult problem, so people earlier used to use segmentation based technique, and now the people don't use segmentation, they use without segmentation. So just recognize the each word. Okay. So let us give some idea about this segmentation technique. So how we can segment the characters. Okay. So maybe uh, just give you quickly some example of character segment. Okay, let me check where it is. Uh, yeah. Okay. So as I told you, when the characters are touching, so for example, these characters and this O and B, so they are touching here. B and A are touching. So when there is a touching, we have the problem. So how to segment the touching characters from the touching string or maybe words, right? So people use several techniques, okay, and based on the cavity, based on the contour, and as I told you, nowadays people don't segment. But when your text are like this, you can see that if your complex document, how to segment that one. So that is another problem we face. Okay. Actually, we have developed different approaches, and at present, our approach can take care of this complex segment easily. Okay, so let me give you some idea about this system. So let me let me try. Okay. So this is multi-oriented segmentation. So now let's say I am just opening an image, maybe very simple image to understand. So let's say this one. Now you can see uh, this is the original image. Now if we want to use the multi-oriented segmentation, that is the system we have developed for complex document segmentation, and you can see the characters will be segmented. See, so even the characters are touching, and that will be identified. So maybe you can see there some dots are missing because we just use the bigger component for segmentation, because dot you don't need segmentation. You just replace the dot again here, and then you will get the original characters with segmentation. And as soon as you have the segmentation, so you can go for recognition. Okay, so that means for segmentation, even if your documents are very complex, there is no uh, uh, actually if the documents are very complex, that the present system can segment the document without any problem. Okay? So let's say I can just open one more image, maybe more complex one, and you can see here this image. very complex because just a moment. Oh, just 1 second. Maybe this is memory problem. Okay. You can see this image. It is a rounded image, right? You can see here. This is rounded. And now, if we just use our segmentation technique, multi-oriented segmentation, so it can easily segment from that multi-oriented text. So sometimes it's slow. I don't know why. Maybe the other process going on here. You can see here. So this is the segmentation result. So the characters are segmented now, right? And now, okay, so you can see whole multi-oriented text is segmented. So as soon as you have the segmentation, proper segmentation, then for recognition of this multi-oriented character, you can use some features which is rotation invariant, right? So if you know, for in computer vision or pattern recognition, there are many rotation invariant features. So if you use these rotation invariant features, then whether characters are rotated or not, we can easily recognize that one, right? So after segmentation, we have to go for recognition. So if you know that your input text may be rotated, you have to use rotated features or rotation invariant features. If you know that your text is normal, you don't need to use rotation invariant feature, just normal feature will recognize that text. So far, for recognition of a document, you have to segment that document into lines, lines into words, words into characters, then you go for character-wise recognition. But if you want to go without segmentation, yes, there are techniques. People use HMM, hidden Markov model, and nowadays people also use some deep learning model for the recognition of the whole string, not segmented string, right? So far we discussed it is based on printed text, right? But if it is handwritten, it's a real problem because your handwriting and my handwriting is totally different. That's why yesterday when I told you that automatic answer script evaluation, that means to recognize the answer script written by, let's say, different students with a different writing style is really difficult. And when the characters are touching, how to segment? Okay, we have developed some system for touching character segmentation from handwritten. If you want, I can just quickly let's see if it's here. Otherwise, yeah, it's here. But this is only for touching. We have developed the system in ISI. So let's say if I just give a touching character like this, okay. So we have few characters like this. So let's say this one, and you see that, and you can see here that 3, 0 and 3, and the characters are segmented here. So similarly, if we just take another image like 0, 1, and it is segmented here, but it should be segmented here, but it depends because if you segment here, it may be 7. Okay, it's better you just segment here and here, then maybe perhaps. But anyway, you got the idea that that existing system can segment and within text also. Okay. Anyway, so because of the time, I will not give you more details on that. Just to give you some technical things to understand the problem. Sorry, to understand the approaches, and then if you are interested, maybe I will give you more details on that, so that you can have the idea about this subject. Because this is for the all of you, so I will not give you more details on that. Just overview about the technical. Anyway, maybe, and regarding the errors, maybe I'll just give you some idea. So for example, as I mentioned you, that most of the OCR's errors is similar step characters, not that keyboard never characters. And we generally classify the OCR error into two types: non-OOAD error, real OOAD error. What is non-OOAD error? That means when a given input is recognized as another word which is not in our dictionary, right? When you type in the word MS word, so if you type a wrong word, so MS word can detect because it has a dictionary, so it will match there. And then if it is matching, then we will say that is a real word error. So that is, there is, let's say cat is recognized at teeth. That means this is also real word or valid word. This is also valid word. So this is real word. But when you have the input from, but you have the output from, in that case, it is non-word error because the output word or the recognized word is not the real word. That's why it is non-word error. It is not in your dictionary. So, like image word can easily identify by the red mark. Similarly, our system can also identify. So, two types of error we have: the real word and also non-word. Okay? And if this real word, so when you have a real word error, you cannot correct that because you know this is the actual word. But when you have non-word error, you can correct. And non-word error can be divided several ways. Let's say substitution error. That means when one character is misrecognized wrongly by another character, and that substitution is made mostly due to the similar shape character. Okay. Similarly, rejection. Sometimes the system cannot recognize some of the character. Run-on error, split error, deletion error. So different types of error, and the post processing will take care this sort of error to correct some of the recognized text. Okay, so this is the OCR error pattern, and that we have to handle for recognition. So as I mentioned you that for the complex document like this, we can easily identify or easily segment the characters from this complex document. Then we can identify each of these characters using rotation invariant features. Okay. Anyway, so this is some of the segmentation results we published in pattern recognition maybe 5-6 years ago. Yeah. So this is different touching, different orientation, and it will segment the multi-oriented touching segmentation. Okay. Anyway, these are also some multi-oriented touching character and many characters, right? In fact, this is published in pattern recognition 212. So, uh, okay, and that is based on dynamic programming. That means we segment in different ways, then we will take the optimum way of segmentation, and that will give the correct result. Okay. Anyway, this is for touching segmentation or handwritten. So we have already shown you the system how to segment that one. And now, if I just come back, nowadays what the people are doing, because OCR for plain text or books is already done, uh, because there are many OCR systems and some systems are available freely also. But when we deal with text in video or scene. So for example, you are using your mobile in a road and you are getting some text with some background. Let's say there is a road, car, bridge, or maybe the electric pole and also some text. So how to detect the text from the video or how to detect the text from the scene images? So scene images means you have the text with background, building, road, or something. Okay. So how to detect the text from video or scene images? That is really a challenging work, and lots of papers are nowadays being published in one of the best conference perhaps you know, CBPR, Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition. It is every year it will be USA. This is the best conference in pattern recognition, let's say, and computer vision. Uh, so many papers are coming from video or maybe syntax recognition. So, for example, if you have a video, how to detect the text from the video, how to locate, or how to localize. Okay, this is the text. Maybe I will just show you one of our system where you can see uh, how our system can easily identify some of the text from the video. Maybe I just here, right? Okay, let me check where is the demonstration. One second, please. Okay, so maybe in that case. Okay, let me close this one. And let's close this. Maybe we have something here. Perhaps I can get a copy here. Yeah, okay, we have a copy here. So let me show you something. So let's say I'm just running this video, and you can see. You see, the video is running, and the text is already identified by the system, and it is marked by this rectangular box. Okay? So that means from the video, the system can easily identify uh, so I'll just run the other one, get the idea. So let's say this is another video, and you can see this is the video from the roadside, and automatically where there is a text is identified and marked in this rectangular box. But you can see there are some mistakes because there is some the alignment is not good, so it is not basically in the horizontal direction. That's why sometimes there are some mistakes. But you can see at least the system can detect the text from the video. And if I just show you the other one, let's see. And this is basically from Bengali movie, and this is the subtitle, and you can see our system can easily identify where is the text. And in fact, there should be also here, but it's missing somewhere. Anyway, so you got the idea that even from the video, so our system can easily detect the text, and then as soon as it will be detected, we can. I hope you are getting now my slides. Okay, so when there is a text in video, we can first identify where is the text, and then we can go for the recognition with the normal thing. So, lot of work people are doing nowadays from the video text. Okay. So also the people are doing other important work on the handwriting. So, for example, as I shown you yesterday, that postal document sorting. So it may be handwritten, may be printed. So how to identify the handwritten text? So
বাবু বাবা
that
খাওয়ার সময় কথা বলবা ভীষণ লেগে যাবে
so that means the handwritten recognition is really a complex problem, and the people are still solving that handwritten. And as another application of this handwritten is the automatic answer script evaluation, as I mentioned some part earlier, yeah, that is yesterday. It is really useful and challenging area, not much work in this area. So we need to consider many issues. We'll see what are those issues. Line detection from the answer script itself is very challenging. How to take care of the graphical part, like drawings. How to decide the cross out part, that means the cancel part from the handwritten pages, and how to take care of the mathematical symbol, equation, or other images. So those are different issues for the automatic answer script evaluation. But I just quickly give you an idea about this. So in the international status of this work, there is only one group from Japan, Professor Nakagawa. So he has started work in this area. And for national, so far there is no reported work on this handwritten descriptive answer script evaluation. Although there are some work for short answers, not the descriptive. So what are the problems? There are many problems, as I mentioned you. So handwritten text in that answer script is different from the normal writing, right? Large variation in writing style. In many cases, a student may have different writing style. For example, when they start, it will be very neat and clean, the good at the beginning, and very bad at the end because of the lack of time. Sometimes very complex in nature, word extraction from the answers pose several challenges due to non-uniform spacing between the words while writing, touching, etc. As I mentioned you, the math equation, diagram, images also create problems. And most important thing is the cross out, different types of cross out that present in the answers. So I'll just give you some of the example of cross out. We developed this one. So you can see the same letter and we use different cross out. Actually, we developed a system for cross out detection, and that system use the deep learning technique. But since we don't have the enough data, so we synthetically generated some data. So we can generally share the data if we know the pattern. So for example, we have gone through several answer scripts and we know what are the different pattern the student has used for cross out, and we use the same pattern for synthetic data generation. So we use synthetic data generation for our deep learning based approach. Okay. So these are different cross out. Maybe you can have the idea. And sometimes you can see the people have cross out just with the horizontal line, sometimes some the slanted line, sometimes again horizontal line, and so many different types. Right? So we developed the system for cross out detection, and you can see this is the output of our system. So red part actually, sorry, so you can see here the red part. Just wanted to move this one to the right side. Anyway, so here you can see the red part is The red part means the part marked by the red rectangular box. So those are detected by the crossout by our system. But you can see still there are many problems which are not detected properly, but we are working on that. Okay. So this is for crossout detection. And so what we have to do, we have to do lots of work for this. So data collection and ground truth generation, because you have to, for machine learning, you need lots of data and you have to generate that, okay, these are the crossout and these are not crossout. Strikeout detection or crossout detection, word detection or word association and line segmentation, word-wise handwritten segmentation, word spotting. Okay, so several things we have to do. So I'll just give you some complexity. So for example, the students sometimes they write something cross and put something at the top like this. So for example, he has written something like that, then he just crossed and put it same. So how to remove this part and how to associate this word same with this word. So we have developed some system. So first we crossed out, then we just remove the cross out, and then what we have done, we just check in the neighborhood of the cross out, if there is any word at the top or bottom, then we will associate that word in this line or the upper line, depending on the distance of this. Okay. So you can see this is the output of this line segmentation. So initially it was there, then we deleted this one, and then we just modified the line segmentation and we got this correct line segmentation here. So this is the line, and now we can use the line wise or maybe word wise recognition based on the deep learning or recognition. Okay, maybe I will not give you more details about this because I want to cover some other areas to have some idea about this other areas also. So fraud detection. So maybe in the last day, one of you asked one question. I will come back to that. So for the fraud detection, we can have different ways of fraud, right? So we can just change some part of the images, that means image fraud images. Signature, we can just change some signature, or maybe I can do your signature. That means if I know your signature, I can just try several times and then I will be skilled, or maybe I will be efficient to do your signature, then I can. So that is another signature uh, frauding. That means different types of fraud can be exist in documents, or maybe in the, let's say, in image in our community. That is image fraud, video fraud, signature fraud, handwriting fraud. Handwriting fraud means, so for example, somebody has given a written complaint in the police station, and now police has uh, just going through this letter, and he has a suspect that okay, maybe this is not his the same writer where it is cut some portion and paste some. So how to detect those fraud handwriting things for the forensic from the forensic point of view, right? So that means, or maybe let's say, maybe it is possible that somebody has written that something and some people has changed. Or let's say somebody has written that he has to pay rupees 100 and somebody has changed, he has to pay rupees 1 lakh. Just change some zeros or add some zeros. So you see how sort of frauds can be done in simple way. But how to detect those? So lots of work the people are doing for forensic. That is for one is for fraud detection. That means whether it is a genuine or not. Okay. So how we can do those sort of things? So lots of work people are trying to do. So you can see when there is a change in an image, that means there is a fraud. So actually, uh, the, the portion where there is some change, it will be a little bit different from the original one. So how the system can automatically detect that one? Visually, maybe you cannot see, but when you see the properties of that part, maybe the grayscale or change of the pattern, so the computer can easily detect, okay, there is some fraud or not. Okay. Similarly, from the signature, similarly from the handwriting, and from other also from video. So lots of people are doing the fraud detection nowadays, and that fraud detection can help the people, or maybe that police, or maybe the forensic people, or easily investigate the defects. Okay. Anyway, I'll just show you one example. Maybe in the last day, I have already shown this part, that original image is this. So you can see this is an image from CNN, and people has changed this image into like this, with removing the CNN and also that some other parts. Maybe this is the CNN and the dates, all this. And now you can see this is one sort of fraud. But how to detect that one? So you see, even they changed this one, but you can see the background. There is a change in the background, and that background can be easily detected by computer, or maybe that fraud detection, fraud image detection system, and we can detect, okay, there is some change in the images. Okay, so that means altered or fraud images can be easily identified from the modern system. So there are lots of what fraud detection. I will not take a lot of time from you, because we have around uh, 20 minutes, something like that. Anyway, so I'll just give you a very, what I can say, a very simple example of the application of handwriting. For example, uh, which can be used for the behavior identification of person. So yesterday we have day before yesterday, I just discussed something about EEG images. So based on the EEG images, we can get your mental condition, right? Is one of the applications. So in handwriting also can give you your behavior, mental behavior, or your personality can be detected based on the handwriting. Perhaps you know graphology, but if you don't know, I'll just give a very brief on that. So graphology deals with human characteristics analysis based on individual handwriting style analysis. That means every people has his own writing style. So if you write few lines, so based on the analysis of those written lines, the system can detect the behavior of the person who has written. So perhaps you know that graphology is a subject, and also there are some institute. Even in Kolkata, we have a graphology institute. They also give some diploma for the graphology. Okay, so here, since we are engaged mostly on handwriting recognition, we were interested. Okay, let's see whether we can develop a system for graphology. That means graphology analyze the handwritten text manually, but whether our automatic system can do it. So we developed a system, maybe, uh, uh, so for that system, let me tell you, so how the characteristics or what type of characteristics generally we use for graphology. So, for example, that behavior. So, graphological behavior. What is that? The behavior of the text line of the writing. So, for example, some people write the text line completely horizontal, but some people, you see, when they write some text in the same line, first line is not horizontal, maybe it's some curvy or something. It is like a curved line. So, and also the proportional gap between two consecutive stage line is not there. And what is the gap between the characters and words and loop information. And when we write some character like T, so how the shape of the bar of the T, and what about the margin? Margin means whether he follows the equal margin for all the character or the lines or not. So these are the behaviors. Maybe I'll just give you more behavior in next slide. So these are the person behavior. That means the person is very, for example, in some people teach some work from the signature also, they can detect whether the person is very complex in mind or not from the signature. So similarly here, you can see this is an example of a text, and you can see some texts are horizontal and some texts are not horizontal. It is like, you see, the first line is going upward. Okay, but in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 8 or 9 line is horizontal, but some lines is going down, something like that. So this is one of the properties. And another properties or some other properties are like this. You can see when some people like Y like this, then the behavior of the Y, that means we can detect that if people like Y this way in the past is loner. If he writes Y like in this way, he is aggressive. Okay, so Y like this, so he is socially selective. So like this, that means, and if he like this, so you see, different Y has different behavior. Like this Y is physically frustration. So this Y and this Y is more or less similar behavior. So writing of each character and also writing of the text pattern, that will give you the idea about the behavior of the writer. Actually, we have developed a system. I don't know. Oh, where is it? Sorry. Okay, let me check. We have a system. Maybe I can. Oh, I'm very sorry. Sorry, are you getting me or it is disconnected, right?
So we can hear you.
So participants, are you getting me? Please.
Yes, so they're writing in the chat box.
Okay, I thought that it is disconnected. Let me check.
No, sir, we are there.
There is something for graphology. No, but anyway, let me try with. Just 1 second. Yeah, so maybe this is the software. So if you just, maybe I'll just give you this in the share data. So you can just use this one. So this is available in 3D. So if you want, you can test this system. So what you have to do, you have to select a character and you have to write the character, and based on that, so this is the instruction. Maybe I'll just stop this instruction here. Just cancel. So when you run this software, you will get this instruction. So what you have to do, you just select a character A, B, or which character you want to write. So let's say I am writing A, and then I will just write like this, but it is written in mouse. But that means my own handwriting is not reflected here. Then if you just use analyze, then our system will analyze these character shapes, and then it will say about me. So see, mine AA based on this character. So respective person is cooperative and likes, care, and respect, something like this. So if you agree, just agree so that we can get the data whether our system is valid or wrong. But there no information from you will be stored in this system. Just your output will be stored. It is agree or not. So if you don't agree, just put this don't agree. Okay? Then you can test. So it is a toy software. You can just try, and we have developed, and we have seen that more than 70%, and we have published a paper recently, maybe last year. We published the paper, and based on this graphological aspect on handwriting. Okay. So we will not take much time for this, just to test or to show you the system. And now I will come back the another word that is the people are using nowadays for maybe I'll just come to the easy part quickly later. Before that, I just want to complete the AR writing quickly. Okay. So this is regarding the AR writing. So as you know, AR writing means we plan to write in the AR. So as you know, there are lots of applications. So here I'll just show you quickly that our AR writing system we have developed without depth sensor. That means you don't need any sensor. Without sensor, just write with your hand. Okay. So you see, my student is writing here something. Left side he is moving his pen and in the 3D, and in the right side he is getting the images. Now we can use these images for the recognition. So here, perhaps I have shown you in the day before yesterday that he is writing 2, and after recognition, it will be recognized as 3-0. So after recognition, it will be like this. Okay. So 3-6, and it is recognized as 3-6. Can you see here? 2-9-3. Now you see here 2-9-3 will come. So you can write whatever you want, and that will be recognized. So what are the problem in the AR writing? As I mentioned in the last lecture, because in AR writing we don't have the starting and stopping. So that is the problem in AR writing. Because when we write in the pen with pen and paper, so pen will touch the paper and then we write, and then we'll take out the pen from the paper, right? Or maybe blackboard. We just touch the board with a chalk and then we write and take it out. So you know the start and the end of that particular writing. But in air writing, it is always moving the hand. You don't know where we stop, after which word we stopped or something. So that is the problem in the air writing, because we don't have the start and the end information. So that's why what I've done. So when we write a word, then if you just stop or movement, if you stop movement of your hand for a second or something, then we can easily understand, okay, this is the end of this word. So for the time being, we use this concept, that is right after writing a word, you just, so as I am writing, then this, again you start writing. So then we can know where is the end of the first word, then you can just go for the recognition of the next one. So this is the condition we impose for the air writing word. Okay. So as I told you, there are many depth sensors, kinet, limb motion, arm band. So we don't use any sorts of depth sensors for our recognition. or our air writing recognition, we just use your mobile or laptop video camera. So as I mentioned earlier. Anyway, so I will not give you more details on that because you have the idea about this. Uh, so as I told you, there are many applications, mobile applications. That means if you want to send an email or SMS, you don't need to type through keyboard. You just write in the air, automatically stored in your system and just send it. That's why it is good for the eyes. Sensor touching, you don't have to touch any common sensor. Okay. Similarly, the sign language, as I mentioned in the last application and Monday, that communication between deaf and dumb people with the normal people using the sign language based on the air writing concept. Medical application, the doctors can take his own notes of his own patient during the operation. So these are many, there are many applications. So as I mentioned you that in online or maybe during writing, we have the pen down and pen up. But here we don't have the pen down, pen up and pen down information. And that is the problem for the air writing. Okay, that's why I told you, just write and for a second you just stop the movement of your hand, again you just write. Then there is no problem. Okay. Anyway, so actually what we generally do when we move your hand, so from the hand, we, we can just detect the hand from the background. Both you can see my background, so you can detect the hand. And from the hand, we just take the finger and we detect the finger tip point and we just take the coordinates of the finger tip and that coordinate will be the input for us, like the data I have shown you. So that input will be recognized and we can use many techniques for that. Okay? We can use character-wise, we can use word-wise technique and you can get the results for the recognition. Anyway, so I will not give you more details on this. Just I will give you that idea because okay, maybe because we don't have enough. You see here. So when we write some text, let's say 795, right? So we have some extra information, right? So the red part, this green part, these are the extra part. This is writing because my hand is when I write 7, then after writing my hand is going to write 9. So that's why this extra part is coming. So how to deal with extra part for the recognition? That is the most important part for that ARR. So to deal with this, we just use some sort of stroke language model. So that is called SLM, that means stroke language model. You can see here. So that stroke language model can help us. So how it will help us? So let's say we have the character 3. We just segment the characters in different strokes. So strokes can be segmented based on the curvature or angular information. So we just segmented 3 in 2 strokes like this, or you can segment also here, here if you want more strokes. As 4 maybe here, here based on angular information. So as soon as you have the strokes, then we can use this stroke information and based on the combination of the strokes, we can know whether it is which character. So for example, if we just write the character, uh, let's say, I will give you more details on that. So just here I can just give you, so since it is air writing in this 3D, and if you write many character at the top of other character, it doesn't matter. You can see here, the people are written 3 and then 4 at the top of this. But we don't bother about that because we have the XY coordinate and the time. So that will help us to identify which part is which character. Even they are overlapped with one another like this. Okay. Since we don't have much time, I'll just quickly give you this information. So for example, here you have written 3, right? But when you write 3, since it is air writing, maybe our system will say this stroke is as 0, then this red one and this blue one will together will give 2, and all these strokes will together give is 3. That means when you write 3, we can have 0, then 2, and then 3. That means we may get many other character to write or numeral to write a particular numeral. Like this, in this case, if we write 3, we can have 0, 2 before writing 3. So we have some priority matrix. So that is the priority function. That function is developed based on the writing structure of the numerals, because here it is priority function for the numerals, you can do for the character function. So based on this priority function, we can decide that if we write like this, so this will be 0, then 2, and then 3. Actually, this is 3. So we use this priority matrix to get the information that whether it is not 0, not 2, but it is 3. So in this way, we can remove the extra strokes for our recognition. Right? So in this priority scheme, we mark 0, 1, and -1. So 0 means the same character. That means 0 will be recognized by 0. But plus means, that means when we write 3, that means there is a plus. That means we may get other character to write 3. So for example, when we write 3, we may get 0. That's why it is written in plus 3 plus plus. That means we may get 0 and 2 before writing. Similarly, all other characters we have the priority scheme, and that priority scheme has been used for the recognition. But anyway, because of the shortage of time, I'm not giving more details on that. But if you are interested, we have a paper this year we published. Maybe you can go through that one so that we can get the idea of it. Okay? Anyway, since we have 5 minutes more, as I told you, I will give you a little bit on EEG, because one of you wanted to get the EEG. So I will come back to shortly for the EEG part. Maybe this one. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So quickly, just give you some idea. So as I told you, the EEG, that is electroencephalography, that EEG. So that this EEG signal can be used for many applications. So that you can see here what is the EEG. So EEG measures the activity of large number of neurons. So we'll see, we can divide the brain into different parts, and then we'll get the measures from neuron, large number of neuron in our brain. So electrodes, so first it was first recorded by the Hans Berger in 1929, and electrodes measure the voltage difference at the skull in microvolt range. So that is the data we will get. And the voltage trace are recorded with millisecond resolution, and that is the data for the brain imaging, that we will get the actual data for this. Let's see what are the clinical significance of EEG. So EEG is used by the neurologists for the diagnosis of various brain disorders, brain tumor, stroke, sleeping disorder, epilepsy, brain death, so many things, depression like this. And beyond clinical, the EEG also can be used for other things like neuromarketing, security and authentication. Neuromarketing means, so for example, as I mentioned in the last lecture, so for example, in the morning you are just looking the newspaper and that, let's say there is an advertisement of the television. So whether, or maybe let's say shoe, whether you like this shoe or not. If you like this, then your EEG signal will be changed. That means you are happy to see that one, something like that. Security authentication. So for example, we use the password for fingerprint or maybe face, whether the EEG signal can be used for your security or maybe password. Diving alert. So for example, one diver, he is running for a long distance, maybe sometimes up, he will be sleepy. So his EEG signal can alert him so that, okay, hey, you are sleeping, so please be aware. Something like that. Sentiment analysis, age and gender identification, that all can be done by this EEG. So there are two ways the EEG signal can be obtained, that invasive and non-invasive. Generally, we use here non-invasive like this. So for example, in the on the top of the head, we have some devices like this. These are the old ones, so that we can get, you can see the brain, and there are many nodes, and each of these nodes will have the signal. But nowadays, people use just this sort of device. That means to get the EEG signal, just put at the top, at the head, and then the different nodes of the different parts of your brain can give you the signal, and that signal can be analyzed. So here you can see the different parts of the brain. So, and the signal will come from different parts, and that will be analyzed. You can see this is the different frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, occipital lobe. There are that is the and big parts, that is the you can that have the segmentation. The frontal, parietal, then temporal lobe, and so many parts, and you will get the signal from this. Okay, maybe I will not go through this one. And now, when you take the EEG signal from different parts, you will have the signal like this. So you can see it is like ECG signal or maybe some sort of speech signal, right? So we will have the signal from different parts, and then we have to analyze this different signal, and that signal combinedly or in combination with other signals give you the actual situation, your mental situation, or maybe some other what you want to do for this. Okay. So this is some sort of EEG recording. Okay. So I will not give you more details. This is the digital form from this. And now we will see here. So this is actually the characteristics of different EEG patterns. So you can see when you are excited, the pattern will be like this. When you are relaxed, the pattern will be something like that. This is just to show your idea. So when you are drowsy, your pattern will be like this. You are asleep is like this. Deep sleep, something like that. You are in coma, something like that. So for different applications, we need to analyze the different signal and the signal behavior and the characteristics help you to detect the particular application you want to. Okay. So this is basically the signals, and that signal you have to process, and that signal is obtained from the EEG devices. Okay. So we can use different features. Many researchers are nowadays using the deep learning technique for this application. So since we don't have enough time, so I will not give you more details on that. But there are many system people use different ways using deep learning, web-led features. Maybe there are many published papers. So if you are interested, please check these papers. In fact, from Jadavpur University, Professor Ponar, he also worked on this BCI, brain computer interface. So anyway, so these are some results. So I will not give you more details on that. So if you are interested, please go through some paper. Just in this talk, I just get the overview of these different applications. Okay, I think I'll just go back to my main talk. So I just come back with this actual issue. So we have discussed several applications in the last lectures, and today I just give you in some of the application more details. And regarding that medical image analysis, or maybe let's say for the biometrics, we don't have time to discuss, but there are lots of work people are using for medical imaging. For example, whether there is a person, or there is a probability that a person will have a stroke or not. So people are started working on that. So based on the images, so they detect the condition of the heart, and they can detect, okay, there will be stroke or not. Similarly, in biometrics, there are many biometrics, as I mentioned you, that fingerprint, face, eyes, sclera, and even new biometrics are also coming. And people are using not only the single biometrics, they are using the multi-biometrics, multimodal. That means they use, let's say, face, finger, and other biometrics together to have the better system. Okay. So similarly, the people are doing object tracking. So, for example, a suspicious people is walking in the airport. How to detect that suspicious people? That means we can detect that particular people. We can see his movement, and based on the movement, the system can automatically tell, okay, he is suspicious. Similarly, you know that automatic car driving. So lots of work is going on for robotics, and also that corresponding the vision, and also that nowadays the drone. So many pieces of work are going on in the recent days. So if you are interested, maybe in any of these areas, please go through the respective papers for more details about the technical things, or you can send me an email and I can send you some papers. Okay. So with this, I just stop here, and to conclude, maybe I'll just say that there is not much work in. See, in this talk, I just briefly discuss about that document image processing in today, and in the last day we discussed that several recent applications of the deep learning in our present life. Many pieces of work are not solved. That means we need more work for that. Hence, I request you to work in these areas with the help of your students or colleagues. Okay, so with this, I stop here, and maybe I'll just go for the question. So last day, there was a question that whether the pose estimation we use can be used for forensic or not. So today we just shown you that there are many ways of forensic. Of course, that pose estimation, that means if police can give you the instruction, okay, that the criminal will have like this, and if there is a text, definitely we can develop the system and that can be used by the police. But we don't have that actual data and the ground truth for this, so we didn't use. But definitely we can use for that purpose. So thank you for that question. I hope you got the answer, right? Okay, now we'll go for the question.
Thank you,
So
sir,
if you
for
have or
answering.
maybe any suggestion, that will be good for me. And also, if you any comments regarding my talk, let's say I need to give some more technical or something, maybe you can also give me that suggestion. Maybe in the next talk, if I give somewhere, I can just consider that. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if you have any more query, you can ask sir directly. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you, sir, for answering the last session's query today itself. So yeah, you can either post in the chat box or you can directly unmute yourself and ask any question you have.
I think it's better if you ask so that other people can also hear it.
Right.
And okay, so it's okay as you like. Which one is good
Yeah,
for
sir,
you?
no problem. I mean, you can unmute. I mean, the participants can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Okay.
So if you have any comments and suggestion also, so that will be always welcome. Or maybe if you have any question in future, you just don't hesitate to send me by email because my email is also there. Okay, so that is umapodo@isical.ac.in. Or you can search. Just if you use your Google, you will get everything. Okay.
Thank you,
So
sir, for sharing your email ID with us. So, sir, it seems there is no question in the chat box at least. Participants, I again request you, if you have any query, you can unmute yourself and directly ask question to sir.
yeah, no problem.
So today, I think there isn't any question coming up, but thank you for answering the last session's queries as well, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So thank you for your presence, first of all. And I would also like to thank all the participants here and for you, sir, for your lucid explanation and for, explaining us so many concepts in such a brief period of time, particularly document analysis process and how different scripts can be identified. And you introduce us to various, different application, fraud detection, graphological behavior, air handwriting, writing without sensors, and many more. Thank you for your presence. I would also like to express our gratitude for your presence despite your busy schedule, sir. Thank you once again.
Okay. So thank
So,
you all the participants and thank the organizer inviting me to give the talk and I also thanks Dr. Rai for introducing me and also for the participants who have some question. But anyway, if you have any question in future, as I mentioned, don't hesitate to send me by email. Huh? Okay, so
thank you,
thank you
sir.
very much then.
Thank you very
I'm
much, sir.
okay then. So I'm just leaving. Okay. Thank you.
So before you leave, I have, since
Okay.
this is a
Okay.
virtual platform, so we would like to, share a token of appreciation with you,
Okay.
a certificate from our side.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And namaste. Okay.
Welcome, sir.
Okay.